Artificial intelligence is a direct threat to copyright, and publishers need to think long and hard about how to respond to that. Hi everybody, my name is Greg Crable, and this is my daily podcast, Something I Learned Yesterday, in which I take one issue from the world of publishing and try to explain it in about 3 or 4 minutes. Today's is more like 6. I am not an expert on copyright law, but I can provide some background and context and maybe some ideas about how copyright plays into the ongoing dispute between publishers and artificial intelligence. One thing I think it's important to realize is that the internet and the tech space generally was strongly influenced by people who you might call copyright anarchists. There was a lot of talk about how content wants to be free, and the internet was, in some people's minds, a mechanism for that. Google was very influenced by that mindset as well. Their mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Now that necessarily implies free, and if you read what they say about that mission, they make it very clear that it shows a bias towards free content. And also they've shown very little care about copyright. So let's back up for a second and just think about copyright a little more generally. Who benefits from copyright law? Individual creators benefit because they have a chance to make a profit from their work. There's little incentive to create a new work if some corporation with a much larger marketing and production budget can steal your idea. Corporations benefit when they buy or license content from creators. Recently, Disney was lobbying to extend copyright protection so that they could continue to make money off Mickey Mouse. But, of course, at the same time, they want to use Victor Hugo's work in Hunchback of Notre Dame, right? So there is a certain amount of time that copyright should extend, and there can be debates about how long that should be. Society as a whole benefits from copyright because it spurs innovation. But once again, there's a balancing act. If copyright is too strict, then there's not enough opportunity for people to build on what other people have done. But if it's too lax, then there's not enough incentive for someone to create something. So there's a balancing act there. Now, we've also created exceptions to copyright, like fair use, which allows limited use of copyright material without getting the author's permission. That kind of thing is important for research, education, criticism, commentary, and the ability to build on pre-existing concepts. It's very important in academics. Libraries and other forms of lending are also a kind of exception to copyright, and they serve the social benefit of giving the poor access to material that they can't afford. Now, libraries also raise an interesting question about LLMs. If a large language model is trained on a specific topic, say on 1,000 books, how is that different from a person going to the library, reading those same 1,000 books, and then writing what he thinks about the topic? Well, it's not the greatest analogy, but let's work with it a little bit. A human author still has to abide by rules about exact quotes. If you quote a work, you have to cite it. LLMs have been found to quote the exact language of copyrighted works without giving a citation. A human does not have perfect memory of what he has read. An LLM does. Publishers also allow their content to be loaned by a library, at least in part, because it helps to promote sales of the work through word of mouth, reviews, and things like that. There doesn't seem to be a good analogy between that and how an LLM uses the same content. So it's an interesting analogy, but you can't take it too far. The purpose of copyright is to encourage people to create new works by providing a mechanism for them to profit from what they've created. This is good for society because it fuels innovation. And if authors knew that their work was going to be stolen by AI or by a corporation or by anybody else, there'd be less chance for them to profit, and they wouldn't have as much incentive to create. Now, copyright isn't forever. As I mentioned before, at a certain point it goes into the public domain. And so there are legitimate arguments over how long copyright should persist, but there still is this concept of it's copyrighted for a certain period of time, then it's in the public domain. So the idea of an LLM using public domain information is very different from an LLM using copyrighted information. Now, unfortunately, copyright varies from country to country, while the internet is an international thing. So that creates some potential problems as well. Now, I don't have the solution to this, but I have some ideas about solutions. There has to be a way to mathematically calculate the proximity of one set of words to another set of words. As a matter of fact, that's how LLMs work. And you could also calculate the extent to which copyright material is being used in what an LLM has created. Rules could be set around that. For example, if there's a low range of proximity between what the LLM says and any copyrighted work, then maybe that's fair game. With a medium range of proximity, maybe the LLM has to cite the work or link to it. And perhaps with a high degree of proximity, that would be illegal, depending on how much it uses of the copyrighted work. So there should be ways mathematically to come up with some standards for to what extent an LLM can use public domain versus copyrighted material. Now, but there's another option that might be more valuable, and that's the concept of the Creative Commons. And this is an idea that allows the author to specify how their content can be used. Creative Commons licenses also were created to work internationally, so that avoids some of the pitfalls of copyright. Now, I think publishers need to pursue both these things. They need to pursue copyright infringement by LLMs, but they should also consider whether Creative Commons can provide another means for them to specify exactly how, when, in what circumstances their copyrighted work can be used, not only by humans, but by AI. So those are my thoughts. Again, I'm not an expert on this, so I'd love to hear your comments and your ideas. Remember, if you have any problems in your business, if I can help you in any way, give me a call. You'll see my number on the ending screen here. Thanks so much.